Hi everyone, this is Renee with Delaney Jane Cards. Welcome to the channel. Today we'll be making this fairy card. Have a very happy day. I receive a Scrapping for Less kit every month. There's, I think, 2 levels, the Sunday and the banana split or something like that. It's basically just 4 small card kits or 4 small card kits and a 5th little bag of some extras. Anyway, I'm starting here by stamping my images onto some Nina 110-pound cardstock. I'm using this ink on 3 blackout ink. I like this for Copic coloring, and since that's what I'm going to be doing, that's the ink I'm using. I also flip my paper around and stamp the images again, just in case I screwed up with my coloring, wanted to add an additional image, or screwed my stamping up, honestly. In which I didn't, spoiler alert, but now I have the extras in the back of my stamp set. I also wanted some extra of this mushroom, and I just peeled that off my Misty door and used a stamp block and left it in my Misty because I wanted that squish. I get a nicer impression if I use that squishy mat that's underneath. So I stamped some additional mushrooms. Here I am coloring my first mushroom. I was checking out some color combinations. I wasn't exactly sure what colors I wanted to use. Oh, I zoomed in here for the coloring. This first mushroom, I did oversaturate my paper. It doesn't matter too much because I do end up fussy cutting right on the line. If I was die cutting these, I don't have the dies, but if I was die cutting these or fussy cutting with a white border, I would have needed to be much more careful. But here you see when I used the lightest color, it kind of pushed the color away, which caused it to bleed. It saturated the fibers of my paper just a little too much. You can see it on the edges there. Not that big of a deal, really. So I picked some yellows here for the spots in the stem of the mushroom. And I wanted to see if I really liked that color combination, so I moved on to the fairies while I thought about the mushrooms. So here on the fairies, I wanted to do their flower skirts in combination of blue, and the other one is yellow. So here I used 4 blues to get really good dimension and shadows. So I did use a darker blue. This is the B12, B14, B16, and I believe B20. No, I don't know what that other one is. Not really sure. Since it's not a sketch marker, I can't really see it. And then here's my golds. They're the Y20s that I have. So it's probably Y20, Y21, Y23. What's this one? Y26 and Y28, which is one of my original Copic markers. So that would be about 5 years old. These colors went well with the papers from Scrapping for Less, and I thought that these were the more appropriate flower colors. I could have done the pink, but I thought that pinky red combination was better for the mushrooms. So there was just finishing up their little outfits. Usually I do skin tones first, but this time I apparently wanted to get the flowers colored and out of the way. So I use a BV for my shadows when I do fair skin tones. I use my R02 as my cheeks. Looks like I used E00, and I'm not sure what the other one was. Maybe it was E21. But I used the same skin tone. Yep, E21. I used the same skin tone combination for both of the little fairies. Finish them up really quick. And for the wings, I used a BV combination, BV31 and I believe BV34. I wanted them to have a purpley hue. I didn't want to use the traditional like aqua blue color. I thought since I used the blue on the skirt or the flower dress thing that it would be great. And then I used a 0 colorless blender to blend out the ends of the wings. I used the same combination for the second fairy's wings. there was less real estate. So I went in with the darker marker first, then the lighter, then the colorless blender. Here's my hair combination. Now I found this little fairy that I have colored with the yellow dress to be easier to color her hair. I just found that I knew where the shadow should be. I knew where the highlights should be. It just seemed way easier. You'll see I struggle slightly when we get to the other one. I think it turned out fine. I wanted the hair to be not red, but more of a reddish brown, so I used this combination, including the E97, to add that ginger color. And I always align my markers back up lightest to darkest so that I don't get screwed up in my process. This is E35. That's what I laid. That's my lightest color. And then the E97, which is more of that ginger color. And see here, I don't know. I felt like I was just all over the place with my shadows. And then E15, which is also a more red brown. And this is E29. It is a red brown, but it is a very deep red brown. So this is where I was like, I have to fix these shadows. There is something that is just not right about this hair. And it's still not right. I will go in again and add a little more shadow underneath where her head overhangs her hair by her chin there. I just struggled really, really a lot with this little girl's hair. The other one, I mean, they turned out fine, but the other one seemed fine. So I did use the same color combination here for the coloring of the mushroom. I believe I skipped one of the markers. I think it was my second mid or my first mid-tone. I liked the lighter color combination, and here I used the same browns that I used in the hair to do the stem and the polka dots on the mushroom. And I did fussy cut all those images, plus I colored and fussy cut an additional mushroom using just a combination of the same markers to color that one. And this is a stencil by Honeybee Stamps in one of their scene builders. And I'm looking for the most appropriate pink to do the sky because I feel like I always choose blue. And I think this is Tattered Rose Distress ink. It did turn out just stunning in my opinion. I love that look of the clouds, and I think it's super fun and magical to have something other than blue, although blue would have been fine too. So I just needed enough ink blended so that I could die cut that circle. That circle die is, I believe it's a Nellie's die. I got it at a scrapbooking convention years ago. So here I was using some purple tape just to tape down my die so I could run it through my machine. This is a Pink and Main die, a scalloped border die. And I went ahead and chose this pink paper from the pack and trimmed that so I could run it through my machine. And here, this is a My Favorite Things die from one of their old blueprints. I think it might be from Blueprints 2. And I chose an area on this pattern paper where I was not going to get the green in the chevron. So I feel like maybe I wasted a little bit of the paper, but I wanted to pick and choose where my pattern came from. And then this is the background paper that I chose. And that rectangle die is from that same My Favorite Things Blueprints. I think it's Blueprints 1. Then this is some tonic cardstock here. I wanted a matte for my main panel, and I also wanted to matte that circle. So you see I snuck that out of the middle there and die cut everything off screen. And here I'm kind of laying everything out just to make sure I don't need any more elements for my card. That's what it's gonna look like. So I start to assemble everything. Use some score tape here. It's just really a fine line of adhesive, and there was really no reason other than I didn't want to get adhesive all over the place, and I'm sometimes messy with the edges of stuff like this, and I didn't want like my fingers to get in it and then me to transfer it to something else. So I stuck those two pieces together. Then I took this background cloud circle that I had blended, and I put my mushrooms down. Wanted to make sure that I could trim them off. Ooh, that first one I forgot, but I used this marker to color the edges of my mushrooms. I also did this to the fairies. I'm pretty sure I cut that out of the video because it's just redundant. You just see me do it with the mushrooms. And then I stuck all those down. I'm using this Arts glitter glue. This is new to me. I'm still learning. Me and this glue are learning. So I have 2 mushrooms on the one side and 1 on the other. And then I'm going to flip this circle over and trim the little mushrooms off. And clean up the little pieces so they didn't get stuck to stuff, because that has happened. And then I adhered this background panel to the Tonic circle, the Tonic Studio circle here, because I'm going to be cutting the edge off. It's not going to be centered, and I wanted to make sure that I took care of all of that before I put down my fairies. And here I was lining up my little strip across that I created with the scallop border. And I did decide to pop this circle up and put the foam tape on it. Here is some 3M foam tape. Take the backers off. I use liquid adhesive on top of my foam tape most of the time, so I can get a little wiggle room in case I need to move something just slightly. And then I adhere this to this panel here. And then I decide how I'm going to attach my little fairies. They need a little bit of foam tape where they hang off that circle, just to keep them on the same level, so when this is mailed that they don't get smushed. And even though there's 2 fairies, there's 3 mushrooms, and that comes to 5 things. So that is pleasing to the eye. It's an odd number. All of the colors coordinate with my background papers. And then the kit came with these little paper flowers. They are not something I normally use. In all honesty, I have a drawer that I just throw this stuff in, and it all goes to live happily together and doesn't end up on a card ever. But I thought I would try this time. And then it had a 5th paper flower, and I wanted to add leaves. So the shapes of the petals were great for that. So I just cut the flower apart and used the petals as leaves. It kept in that color combination. It also kept away from me adding any additional colors. And I tried to keep the color palette kind of tight on this card. And here I had pulled out these gems from Pink and Main, which I did decide to use. But above this card you can see that sequin mix that did come with the kit. I just decided not to add those to this card. I liked those Pink and Main gems a little bit better. A few accents with a white gel pen, and then I decided on a sentiment. It took me a couple of times, looking for placement. I didn't know where to put it. I do like this corner. Bottom corners are usually my favorite. That first sentiment was not apparently what I was looking for. So I did decide on that one, which I believe is Have a Very Nice Day. I used a little bit of cardstock, the scrap from where I had cut the circle. I have cut a tiny little sentiment strip, and the first time I stamped it, it's kind of smushy, so I must have pushed too hard. So there, I just stamped it again and cut a little banner end on the one end. Cut it off straight on the other. And looked for placement, and that's where I wanted it. So I used that liquid glue again. I'm so surprised at this point I have not put my hand in that ink pad, because that's something I would do. Made sure that was tucked underneath that paper flower there. I added this Nuvo drops. I think it's White Blizzard to the fairy wings, and it was kind of clogged there, but I just put a little bit on to make sure that they had sparkle and shine. And I was deciding if I was putting it somewhere else, which I did not. And I believe that finishes my card for today. I would love to hear what you have to say about my card. Thank you for stopping by. Please subscribe, and I would absolutely love to chat with you in the comments. Have a great day.